It was a cold and silent night. The moon was half hidden behind the dark clouds and the wind was moving slowly through the tall trees. Birds had already gone silent, and only the sound of dry leaves under the feet could be heard. In this strange atmosphere, one lonely man was walking on the empty road near the jungle. His name was Arman. He was an ordinary human, but tonight, something extraordinary was waiting for him. Arman often used to walk at night, thinking about his life, his struggles, aur apni dunya ke chote-chote problems. But this night was not ordinary. As he stepped closer to the deep forest, he suddenly felt something unusual in the air. The air was heavier, the silence was thicker, and his heartbeat started to rise. He looked around carefully. Trees were standing tall, shadows were long, और कहीं से भी किसी जानवर की आवाज नहीं आ रही थी. Normally at this time one could hear dogs barking or owls making sounds, but tonight, nothing. It was as if the whole forest was holding its breath. Suddenly a faint vibration touched the ground. Arman stopped walking. He thought maybe it was his imagination, but then he saw a strange light in the distance. The light was not like a torch or car headlight. It was glowing blue, moving softly between the trees, जैसे कोई shadow उसे carry कर रही हो. Arman's mind started racing. क्या ये कोई लोग हैं? Or maybe something else? His heart was confused between fear and curiosity. He slowly walked closer, his footsteps careful, trying not to make any sound. As he moved forward, the vibration under his feet grew stronger. The air smelled different now, जैसे ozone or burning metal का mix हो. He whispered to himself, "Ye kya jagah hai?" As he reached the edge of the trees, the light suddenly flickered and then spread wide like a small explosion of blue sparks. For a moment, Arman closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he froze in his place. There, standing in front of him, was a tall shadow. The figure was not human. It had a shape like a person, but the body was glowing faintly. The height was more than 7 feet, the arms long, and the face hidden in a blur of light. Arman's throat went dry. His feet wanted to run back, but his mind was stuck in shock. The shadow did not move. It was just standing there, watching him. The silence between them was heavier than stone. Then, the shadow took one slow step forward. The ground under Arman's shoes trembled. His hands started shaking. He whispered, "Ye kya cheez hai?" Arman looked around quickly, hoping to find another human, but he was alone. The forest was silent. The light from the figure grew stronger. It was not attacking him, not even moving fast. Bas wo usai dekh rahi thi, with glowing, unblinking eyes. Arman wanted to turn back, but his legs didn't move. Something inside him whispered, "Don't run. Agar tum bhage to shayad wo chase kare." He took a deep breath, trying to calm his heartbeat. For the first time, he gathered courage and said in a shaky voice, Who are you?" The figure didn't reply. Instead, the light around it pulsed once, jaise usai sunai diya ho. Then slowly, very slowly, it lifted its hand, long glowing fingers pointing towards him. Arman stepped back, his heart beating so loud he thought it would explode, but then he saw something unexpected. The figure was not trying to harm him, it was trying to call him closer. The blue light around the figure expanded again, and in that light Arman saw something shocking. Behind the tall shadow, there were smaller shapes, small shadows, weak, almost invisible, standing close together as if they were hiding. Arman's breath caught in his chest. "Children," he whispered unconsciously. The figure stopped moving as if waiting for his reaction. The smaller shadows trembled weakly, जैसे वो भूखे और थके हुए हों. Arman couldn't believe his eyes. In one night, his normal world had changed into something unexplainable. He had come face to face with something beyond human understanding. The silence broke, not with words, but with a strange sound, a soft, echoing voice inside his head. It was not his imagination. The voice was clear, almost painful, yet filled with sorrow. Help me. Armin's eyes widened. The voice was not his own. It was the voice of the shadow, and it was speaking directly into his mind. The night grew, darker, the wind stronger, and Armin realized he was no longer alone. Something had chosen him. Something that was not from this world. The forest was quiet, but Armin's mind was storming. His breath was heavy, his heart racing. He had just heard the voice inside his head, a voice that was not human. Help me, it had whispered. And now, as he stood frozen, the tall, glowing figure began to change. Slowly, the blur of light around the shadow faded and its form became clearer. Armin's eyes widened as he realized it was not a monster. It was a woman. Her skin was pale silver, almost shining under the moonlight. Her hair floated softly as if it were made of smoke. Her eyes, large, glowing, and filled with sorrow, looked directly into Armin's. She was tall, much taller than him, but her movements were slow and weak, like someone carrying heavy pain. Armin whispered to himself, "Yeah, to ek aurat he." The strange woman stepped closer, and Armin noticed something even more shocking. Around her neck there hung a broken piece of metal, like half of a pendant. It was glowing faintly blue, pulsing with her heartbeat. Her clothes were torn, marked, with strange symbols, and parts of her skin carried scars as if she had survived a terrible battle. For a moment, Armin forgot his fear. There was something human in her sadness, something that pulled at his heart. The woman raised her hand gently, not to attack, but to show peace. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Instead, her voice echoed again directly inside Armin's mind. "Do not fear me. I am not your enemy." Armin took a careful step back, still unsure. Tum Kaunho? And what do you want from me?" Her glowing eyes softened. The light around her body dimmed, making her appear more fragile than dangerous. Finally, in a voice mixed with pain and hope, she answered, "I am alone. A widow. My mate is gone. My people are gone. Only my children remain, and they are dying." Armin's throat went dry. Widow? Children? This was not what he had expected. He looked past her shoulder, and once again he saw the three small figures hiding behind her. They were thin, trembling, their tiny glowing eyes watching him with fear and hunger. He could barely believe what he was seeing. They were like alien children, part human in shape, but their skin faintly glowing, their bodies weaker, fragile. They looked tired, desperate. The woman's voice trembled as she continued. "They have not eaten for many days. They are hungry. They are weak. If you do not help us, they will not survive." Armin's chest tightened. A strange mix of fear and sympathy hit him. He wanted to run to escape this nightmare, but at the same time, something inside him couldn't look away from those children. He asked slowly, "Why me? Out of all people? Why you came to me?" The alien widow lowered her head. For a few seconds, silence filled the forest again. Then she raised her eyes, and Armin felt a sudden wave of emotions in his mind. Sorrow, loneliness, and hope, because you heard me, because you did not run away. Her voice was soft, but her words carried weight. Armin realized she was right. Any other person would have screamed and escaped. But he had stayed. Maybe curiosity, maybe destiny. But he had stayed. Armin didn't reply. He only stared, trying to understand what kind of situation he had fallen into. The woman stepped closer, so close that he could now see the cracks on her skin, like glass breaking. She was not only protecting her children, she herself was wounded, tired, on the edge of collapse. Her next words shocked him even more. "Need you. Not only for my children, but for me. Be with us. Protect us. Stand as my mate." Armin's eyes widened. He felt as if the ground disappeared beneath his feet. "Mate?" he whispered aloud. The alien widow did not blink. Her glowing eyes shone brighter and the blue pendant on her chest pulsed faster. Yes, mate. Without you, we cannot survive. Arman took a step back, shaking his head. His voice was trembling. Yeah, Pagalpanhe. I am just a man, a simple man. How can I be your mate? But her expression did not change. She was not begging. She was declaring. Behind her, the small children cried weakly, almost silently. Their sound was like a knife cutting through Arman's chest. The silence of the jungle grew even heavier. For a moment, time itself felt frozen. Arman realized he had only two choices: either walk away, leave them behind, and return to his normal life, or accept the impossible, step into the unknown, and tie his fate with an alien widow and her children. His heart pounded loudly. His mind screamed to run, but his soul whispered something else. A strange pull, an invisible force was binding him there. The widow extended her hand towards him. Her glowing fingers trembled, but her voice in his mind was strong and clear. Choose, human, walk away, and we die. Stay, and we live. Arman could not answer. His lips refused to speak. He only stood there, frozen, as the fate of an alien widow and her starving children rested on his decision. The night grew colder, but inside Arman's chest a strange fire was burning. He stood frozen, staring at the tall alien widow. Her glowing hand was still stretched toward him, waiting for an answer. But before Arman could speak, a soft cry reached his ears. It was not the cry of any human child. It was higher, thinner, filled with hunger and pain. Arman's eyes moved past the widow and fell upon the three small figures hiding behind her. They were children, weak, trembling, fragile. But children. Their bodies were small, their skin faintly glowing silver, just like their mother. Their eyes were large and bright, but hollow with starvation. They looked at Arman not with anger, not with fear, but with silent desperation. Arman's throat tightened. For a moment, the forest, the wind, everything disappeared. He could only hear the shallow breaths of those children. The widow turned her head slowly toward them. Her expression softened with sorrow, and in Arman's mind, her voice echoed once again, "They have not eaten for many days, they are dying." One of the children, the smallest, stumbled forward. Its legs were too weak to carry the body. It fell to its knees, its little hands digging into the dirt. The child tried to stand but collapsed again. The sound it made, half cry, half whisper, cut deep into Arman's heart. He took a half step, forward unconsciously, his instincts pushing him to help. But then he froze again, his mind fighting his heart. These were not human children. This was not his world. The widow's eyes glowed brighter, filled with tears that never fell. She whispered, into his mind, "They are innocent. They do not know war. They do not know hate. They only know hunger." Arman's breath shook. Memories of his own childhood flickered in his mind. Days when his family struggled, when he himself had gone hungry. He remembered the helplessness, the pain of waiting for food that never came. And now, standing in front of him, were three beings who carried the same suffering in their eyes. The eldest child slowly walked forward. Its steps were unsteady, but its glowing eyes fixed on Arman. For a long moment, human and alien child stared at one another. The child lifted its tiny hand, reaching toward him, not in anger but in hope. Arman's chest tightened further. His voice cracked as he whispered, Why me? What can I even do?" The widow stepped closer, her tall frame bending slightly to shield her children. Her voice filled his mind again, softer now, trembling with emotion. "Because you still have kindness inside you, others would run, but you stayed. My children saw it, and so did I." The words pierced him. He wanted to argue, to say he was not strong, not a savior, just a simple man. But those children's eyes kept pulling him in, begging him without words. Suddenly, the middle child coughed. Its body shook violently and a faint blue spark escaped its lips. The forest air smelled sharp, like burning wires. The widow knelt immediately, holding the child close. She looked at Armin, her glowing eyes filled with both pleading and command. If you walk away now, they will not see another sunrise. The forest grew darker. The moon vanished completely behind the clouds. Armin felt like the universe itself had trapped him in this moment, forcing him to choose. His legs trembled. His heart screamed. He took a step forward, then another. The eldest child's glowing eyes followed him, filled with silent hope. As Armin reached out his hand, the child's tiny fingers brushed against his. For an instant, a spark passed between them. Not painful, not burning, but warm. Strange alien energy ran through Armin's arm straight to his heart. His breath caught in his throat. The widow's voice echoed inside him once more, stronger than before. You feel it, don't you? The bond. Once formed, it cannot be broken. Armin pulled his hand back quickly, fear flashing across his face. No, this isn't real. This is madness, he said aloud, his voice shaking. But the children did not move. They just stared, their glowing eyes pleading silently, their frail bodies trembling. Armin turned away for a moment, closing his eyes tightly. He told himself, I can still leave. I can still run. This isn't my fight. They're not my responsibility. But then behind him, the youngest child let out another faint cry. It was so small, so weak, like the last breath of a fading flame. Armin opened his eyes again, and tears stung them. He realized something he did not want to admit. Walking away was impossible, not because of the widow's strange powers, not because of fear, but because his own heart would never forgive him. The widow stood tall again, holding her weak child in her arms. She looked at Armin, her voice calm but heavy. If you choose us, you will never be the same. But if you leave us, we will die tonight. The forest went silent once more. Armin stood in the middle of destiny, torn between the life he knew and the life he had never imagined. The children's glowing eyes did not blink. They waited, their entire existence hanging on one man's decision. The forest stood still, as if the entire world was waiting for Armin's answer. The three small children clung to their mother, their glowing eyes fixed on the strange human who stood before them. Armin's heart was torn. Fear, pity, and something unknown were battling inside him. The widow straightened her tall figure, her silver skin reflecting the faint blue light that pulsed from her chest pendant. She held her youngest child close, her other arm stretched toward Armin. Her eyes glowed, brighter, not with anger but with something else, determination. Then her voice echoed inside his head once more. This time it was not weak. It was clear, strong, almost commanding. Adopt my children, and be my mate. Armin's blood ran cold. For a moment he thought he had misheard. His lips parted, but no sound came out. He took a step back, his voice finally breaking the silence. What? Mate? He stammered. I don't even know you. You're not even human. The widow didn't blink. Her glowing eyes held him steady. Her voice, calm yet heavy with grief, filled the night air inside his mind. I am a widow. My mate is gone, killed in the war of our people. My tribe is gone. I am all that is left. These children, they have no father. They have no protector. Without one, they will not survive. Armin shook his head, his heart racing. No. This is insane. I am just a man. A simple man. I don't belong in your world. The widow took a slow step forward. Her tall form loomed over him, yet her expression carried sorrow instead of threat. She lifted the faintly glowing pendant that hung around her neck and held it out toward him. This is not only about survival, it is about bond. In my people's way, children cannot live without a bond. They need a protector, a father. Without it, their life fades. Only one who accepts can give them strength, Armin's heart pounded. His mind screamed to run, but his feet refused to move. He looked at the children again. Their eyes, so weak, so innocent, pierced through his chest. The eldest child held its little sibling tighter, trying to keep it warm, though it was trembling itself. Armin felt his throat tighten. You want me to take them as my own? To be their father? The widow nodded slowly. Then her voice dropped softer, almost breaking. And my mate. Without a mate, I too cannot survive. My body is breaking. My life force is weak. If you accept, you will become ours, and we will become yours. We will live. If you refuse, we all die. Her words were like a blade cutting through him. Mate, father, protector. Armin's mind spun. He had never even imagined marriage, family, not even with a human woman. And now an alien widow was asking him for everything in one impossible request. He turned away, clutching his head. This can't be real. I'm dreaming. Han, je surfig dream he. Tomorrow I'll wake up and none of this will matter. But the faint cries of the children behind him shattered that illusion. Their pain was real. Their hunger was real. The heavy silence of the forest was real. The widow stepped closer again, her glowing aura brushing against him. She whispered in his mind, her tone heavy with both sorrow and hope. You are chosen by fate. Do you not feel it? When you touched my child, the bond already began. That is why you cannot leave. That is why you are still here. Armin froze. His chest tightened as he remembered the spark he had felt when the child touched his hand. That strange warmth, that invisible pull. Was it really a bond? No, he whispered shakily. I didn't choose this. But the widow's voice replied gently, firmly. Sometimes it is not we who choose. Sometimes destiny chooses for us. Armin's knees felt weak. He wanted to deny it, but deep inside, a voice whispered that she was right. Something bigger than himself was pulling him here, binding him to this strange widow and her starving children. The widow lowered herself slightly, her tall form kneeling before him. Her glowing eyes locked onto his, and for the first time, her voice cracked with emotion. Please, adopt my children. Be their father. Be my mate. If you do this, we live. If you walk away, we die tonight. Her words echoed in the cold night heavy as stone. The children clung tighter to their mother, their glowing eyes shimmering with silent tears. Their tiny hands reached out toward him again, Armin's fists clenched, his whole body trembling. His mind screamed with fear. His heart pounded with confusion, and his soul whispered that this was no accident. The silence of the forest deepened. The stars above seemed to fade. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for one man's decision. The night was thick with silence. Armin's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. In front of him, the alien widow still knelt, her glowing hand stretched toward him. Behind her, the three children stared with hungry, tired eyes. The weight of her request, adopt my children, be my mate, still echoed in his mind. Armin's hands trembled. He wanted to scream, to deny, to run away. But he couldn't move. His legs felt locked to the ground. His heart was caught between fear and something he couldn't understand. Finally, with a shaky breath, he whispered, If I say yes, what will happen? The widow's glowing eyes softened. She rose slowly to her full height, towering above him yet looking fragile. Her voice entered his mind again, calm but heavy with meaning. Then the bond will form. You will become father to my children, protector of my blood. You will become my mate. Your life will no longer be only yours. Armin's throat went dry. He wanted to protest, but the youngest child coughed again, its tiny chest heaving with weakness. That sound broke him. His fists unclenched, his eyes closed. I will do it, he whispered, his voice trembling. The moment the words left his lips, the air around them shifted. A low hum filled the forest, like the sound of thousands of invisible strings vibrating at once. The ground under Armin's feet shook softly. The widow stepped closer, her glowing pendant pulsing like a heartbeat. She reached out, her silver hand hovering over his chest. "Then you are ours." Her hand touched him. A sudden surge of energy shot through Armin's body. He gasped, stumbling backward as blue light wrapped around his arm like living fire. His heart pounded wildly, his veins burning with strange warmth. He looked down and saw it. Symbols, glowing alien marks, spreading across his skin. Lines of light carved themselves into his flesh, weaving patterns that shimmered with otherworldly beauty. It was not painful, but it was overwhelming. Armin fell to his knees, clutching his arm. His breath came in short bursts. What's happening? To me?" The widow's voice echoed softly inside his mind, almost like a lullaby. "The bond, it is sacred. It connects you to us. From this moment, our lives are tied together. You are no longer only human." Armin stared at his glowing arm, panic rising in his chest. No, I didn't agree to this. I thought it was just words." The widow stepped closer, her tall figure glowing brighter now, her eyes filled with something between sorrow and relief. "Words are not enough in my people's way. Acceptance creates the mark. The bond is life itself." Behind her, the three children stirred. Their weak eyes glowed faintly stronger, their trembling slowed. Armin gasped as he realized his energy, his bond, was flowing into them. The eldest child stood a little taller, its tiny chest rising with a deeper breath. The youngest, who had been close to collapsing, blinked slowly, its faint cry replaced with soft silence. Armin's heart ached. "They're feeding on me," he whispered. The widow nodded gently. "Not feeding, surviving. Your bond gives them strength, gives them life. Without it, they fade. With it, they live." Armin stared at the children. For the first time, he saw hope in their glowing eyes. And yet, inside his chest, fear gnawed at him. "What about me?" he asked softly. "What happens to me now?" The widow's voice was calm, but her eyes carried a storm of secrets. "You will change. Slowly. The bond will shape you, as it shaped my first mate. You will become more than human, and less than human. But you will not be alone. You will be ours." Her words sent chills down Armin's spine. More than human. Less than human. What did that mean? He looked again at his glowing arm. The marks were alive, moving faintly like liquid light beneath his skin. His body felt strange, heavy yet powerful, weak yet alive. His soul felt tethered, tied to something beyond his understanding. The eldest child stepped forward again, its tiny glowing hand reaching toward him. This time, when its fingers touched his, Armin didn't feel fear. He felt warmth, a connection, deeper than words, a pull that was undeniable. Tears pricked his eyes. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "I can't go back, can I?" The widow's voice answered firmly, without hesitation. "No, you are bound. The bond cannot be broken. Not by death. Not by time." The forest around them seemed to bend to her words. The shadows grew longer, the silence heavier. Armin's heart pounded in his chest. He realized the truth. His old life was gone, his future, his fate, everything had shifted in one decision. He was no longer just Armin, the ordinary human walking through the night. He was now a father, a protector, a mate, tied forever to beings not of this world. The widow placed her hand gently on his marked arm, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "Do not fear. You are not alone anymore. From now on, your blood is our blood. Your life is our life. And together, we will face what comes." Armin shivered. He did not know whether to feel hope or terror. The forest seemed calmer after the bond was sealed, but inside Armin nothing felt calm. His arm still glowed with strange marks, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The children were breathing more steadily now, their eyes brighter than before. For the first time, they looked alive. But Armin's chest was heavy. He had agreed to something impossible. His fate was no longer his own. And deep inside, he knew. This was only the beginning. The widow watched him quietly. Her tall figure glowed faintly, her silver hair drifting like smoke in the cold night wind. She whispered into his mind, "You are ours now. Together we will live. But beware, others will come." Armin frowned. "Others? What do you mean?" Her glowing eyes shifted toward the dark trees. Her voice trembled with warning. "The ones who destroyed my tribe. The hunters. They will never stop searching. They want my children. They want me. And now, they will want you too." Armin's stomach sank. Hunters. His breath grew shallow. "You mean they know you're alive?" The widow nodded slowly. "Yes, they will sense the bond. They will follow it, and when they come, they will kill." Armin's hands tightened into fists. His heart screamed, "What have I done?" He had stepped into something far bigger than himself. He wasn't just saving children anymore. He had put himself in the path of enemies he couldn't even imagine. The youngest child clung to its mother's leg, trembling. The eldest looked at Armin, its glowing eyes silently asking the question he couldn't answer. "Will you protect us?" Before he could speak, the forest shifted. The air grew heavier, the silence sharper. Birds that had been hiding suddenly burst from the trees, flying away in frantic flocks. The ground trembled faintly, carrying the sound of approaching steps. Armin turned, his eyes wide. Shadows moved between the trees, fast, tall, and many. Strange clicking sounds echoed in the night, sharp and unnatural like claws tapping against stone. The widow straightened immediately. Her eyes blazed with sudden fire, her body tense like a warrior. She whispered harshly, "They are here." Armin's throat went dry. His instinct screamed to run, but his feet stayed locked. He had no weapon, no plan, nothing. All he had was the glowing mark on his arm, and the responsibility it carried. From the darkness, figures emerged. They were taller than men, their bodies armored with rough black plates, their faces twisted into grotesque shapes. Their eyes glowed red, sharp, and cruel. Each carried long weapons, made of metal that shimmered under the moonlight. The sound of their hissing voices filled the night. Armin couldn't understand their words, but the hatred in their tone was clear. The widow stepped in front of her children, shielding them with her tall frame. Her voice echoed in Armin's mind. "They are the hunters. They killed my mate. They destroyed my tribe. And now, they have found us." Armin's pulse pounded. He whispered aloud, his voice shaking, "What do we do? I can't fight them." The widow looked at him, her glowing eyes fierce. "You are bonded now. You have power you do not understand. Trust it." Armin looked down at his arm. The glowing marks pulsed faster, brighter, as if answering her words. He felt warmth flooding, his chest, strange strength filling his veins. The hunters stepped closer, forming a circle around them. One of them hissed loudly, raising its weapon. Its red eyes locked onto Armin, and for the first time he realized they knew. They could sense the bond, and that made him a target too. The widow's voice rang inside his head like thunder. "Stand, Armin. If you fall, we all fall." Armin swallowed hard. His legs shook, but he forced himself to step forward, placing himself beside the widow. The children's glowing eyes watched him, filled with fear and fragile trust. The lead hunter snarled, its voice sharp and cruel. Though Armin didn't understand the words, he understood the meaning. "Give them up, or die." The widow answered, her voice echoing like steel. "Over my dead body." The hunters roared in unison, their red eyes blazing. The forest shook with their cry. Armin's chest tightened. His mind screamed that he was just a man, ordinary and weak. But the mark on his arm burned brighter, hotter. His vision blurred, and for a moment he felt the children's breath, their fear, their hunger, all flowing into him. He clenched his fists. His voice cracked, but it was steady enough. "If you want them, You'll have to go through me." The hunters hissed again, louder this time, stepping forward with weapons raised. The widow glanced at Armin, her glowing eyes filled with both fear and pride. "The bond has chosen well," she whispered inside his mind. The ground trembled. The air thickened with danger, and in that cold, dark forest, surrounded by enemies not of this world, Armin realized the truth. He was no longer just fighting for himself. He was fighting for a family that wasn't even human, but was now his. The forest was burning with tension. Hunters surrounded them in a wide circle, their red eyes glowing like embers, their weapons humming with deadly energy. The widow stood tall, shielding her children, while Armin's arm pulsed with alien light, the strange bond alive beneath his skin. For a moment, everything was still. The only sound was the trembling breath of the children. Then, one hunter roared, raising its jagged spear high. The ground shook as it stepped forward. Armin's heart pounded so loudly it drowned every other sound. Fear crawled through his chest like ice, but at the same time a strange fire burned inside him. The bond, he could feel it, the children's hunger, their terror, and also their desperate hope. It was all flowing into him. The widow's voice echoed sharply in his mind. "Choose, Armin. Stand with us, or walk away. This is the moment." Armin's throat was dry, his legs trembled. Part of him wanted to scream, to run into the darkness, and forget all of this. "I can't fight them. I am just a man," he whispered inside his mind. But then his eyes fell on the youngest child. Too weak to even cry, it clung to its mother's leg, glowing eyes shimmering with tears. Armin's chest tightened like a knot. He couldn't look away, he couldn't leave. "No," he whispered aloud, his voice trembling but clear. "I won't run." The hunters hissed, as if mocking his courage. Their weapons lit brighter. The gay leader stepped forward, pointing at Armin, its voice sharp and venomous. Though Armin couldn't understand the words, he felt the meaning in his bones. "You don't belong. You will die with them." The widow's aura flared, her silver body glowing. Brighter. She spread her arms wide, protecting her children. "You will not take them." Her voice rang in Armin's mind like thunder. The hunters charged. Armin's body moved before his mind. The bond surged through him, flooding his muscles with alien strength. His glowing arm lifted instinctively, and a wave of blue energy burst outward. The ground cracked, trees bent under the force. The nearest hunter was thrown back, crashing against a trunk with a scream. Armin gasped, staring at his hand. What was that?" The widow's voice was fierce. "The bond. It is alive within you. Use it, Armin." Another hunter lunged forward, its weapon slashing toward the children. Armin leapt in front, raising his marked arm. The spear struck, but instead of piercing him, the weapon shattered into sparks of red and blue light. The hunter staggered back, screeching. Armin's chest burned, his vision blurred, but he stood taller. He was not powerless anymore. The bond was real. The hunters growled louder, circling closer. Armin's heart thundered. He realized he had two paths before him. Choice 1. He could keep fighting, using the strange power, standing as protector and father. A life of danger, of alien enemies, of never belonging to the world he once knew, but a life where the children lived. Choice 2. He could break. He could run into the forest, abandon them, leave the widow and her children to their fate. He could pretend none of this had ever happened, return to his simple human life. But deep inside he knew the screams of these children would haunt him forever. The widow's voice filled his mind again, softer now, trembling. Decide, human. Fight as ours, or flee as one of your kind. Armin's fists clenched. Sweat dripped from his face. The glowing marks on his skin pulsed faster, matching the rapid beat of his heart. His legs shook, then steadied. He stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with the widow. His voice, though breaking, rang across the forest. "I'm not leaving. If you want them, you'll have to kill me first." The children gasped softly, their glowing eyes wide with hope. The widow's expression softened, pride flickering in her gaze. "Then you have chosen. You are truly ours." The hunters roared, rushing in as one. Armin raised his arm and the bond blazed brighter than ever. Energy exploded from his body, meeting the hunters head-on. The forest shook with light and sound, a storm of alien power colliding in the night. Sparks flew, trees fell, screams echoed. In the chaos, Armin's mind repeated a single truth. He was no longer just a man. He was father, protector, mate. His destiny was bound to them forever. The battle raged, but in the heart of the storm, one choice had already been made.